to Distilling the West podcast, exploring the landscape of craft spirits in the Western United States. Join your hosts, Dan and Dave, as they review craft spirits from the Western U.S. and interview the people behind the craft. Now here's your hosts, Dan and Dave.
Welcome to Distilling the West podcast. I'm your host, Dan, and I'm with my co-host, Dave. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. We're in California. Spring is hitting. The flowers are blooming. We're having a great time over here. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about American Single Malt whiskey. It's an upcoming category. You know, bourbon has dominated the scene for so long, but the numbers don't lie. American Single Malt is coming up. And we have a great example on today's podcast. So Dave, tell me a little bit about your experience with American Single Malt, because I know for myself, I'm a bourbon guy, and American Single Malt, I haven't had many great examples that really inspired me and said, hey, I want to reach out and buy this bottle. What's been your experience?
To be honest with you, I know I've had a few, but I couldn't even name one off the top of my head. Like, nothing really stands out. I know for me, of what we tried during this interview, a lot of it was younger age statements. It was 3 to 4 years. In my mind, 10 year was always that mark of a really good bourbon. If it wasn't 10 years, it wasn't up to snuff for me. But honestly, this interview really changed my mind about that. We've been trying some amazing whiskeys at some of those younger age statements. And, I don't know, that the age isn't as important to me anymore as it used to be.
Right. I really feel like the craft that these folks put into their spirits is really shining through on the stuff that we're tasting. So age, and the maturity level really isn't as big of a factor as we're finding. Yeah. So we really enjoyed our interview today. It's our first interview, and our guest, Mark Stell from Bird Creek Distillery. And, he has a long background with Portland coffee roasters. So join us today on Distilling the West podcast as we talk with Mark Stell from Bird Creek Distillery. Welcome to the show, Mark.
My name is Mark. I'm Mark Stell. I'm the founder of Bird Creek Distillery. We founded this in 2017. That's when we first started making our first barrels. I guess I should back up a little bit. My background, I've been doing coffee for 30 years. I have a coffee roasting company in Portland called Portland Coffee Roasters. I grow coffee in Africa. We have a coffee farm in Tanzania. I've had that for the last 17 years. My background is sustainable development. When I was in college, I was really active, trying to understand what I wanted to do. And one of the things that I did as an older college student was go to the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio in 92. And when I got back, it's kind of where I discovered coffee and got into coffee almost immediately right after. About 15 years ago, my wife and I were looking at doing another business and the distillery to boot. And it's kind of where I got into this whole thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. I actually work for a cheesemaker here in Northern California, and we really focus on sustainability. So all the cheese we make is organic. All our farms are sustainable, and we really made that push over the last couple of years. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things when, I didn't think I'd ever do this, to be honest with you. I love single malts. I like whiskey to begin with. But it kind of came as my wife's passion project. She was looking at trying to figure out a way to get out of being a financial analyst and get her heads out of Excel spreadsheets and, get into doing something physical. And because I've been doing it for the last 25 years at the time, or 20 years at the time, she was thinking this was something she wanted to do. And she went down the whole route of this. And I just kind of watched her as she explored the opportunity of what she wanted to do. And then she came back and says, I don't want to do that. I want to retire someday. So anyway, that's when I took over. I kind of was already down the rabbit hole of, we could do this, we could do that. And, it's kind of how we got into this whole thing.
Nice. Well, you guys came to mind for an interview on the podcast because me and a buddy went up to the Oregon Whiskey Festival at Oregon Spirit Distillers. And, we were kind of making our rounds around the booth. And then I looked over and I noticed, I was like, hey, that booth has a really long line. And then maybe there's something going on there. And I think we mainly tend towards bourbon. But when in Rome, right? When I was up there, I realized, oh yeah, not a lot of corn is grown in Oregon. So it makes sense, right? To do the American Single Malt. And so I thought, I guess this is an opportunity to change my mind on the style. And so I got in line and, I think it was your wife pouring. And I said, you know what? I think you guys just totally changed my mind about American Single Malt.
Well, that's good to hear. It was almost embarrassing, to be honest. It was our first time doing the event. And I knew a lot of the people that were doing some of the other distillers. And it was just kind of comical how busy we were because we weren't anticipating having lines like that. And you look over a couple rows down, there's nobody in line other people. And I think the thing that was exciting for that venue and that event was we brought what we won the American Single Malt Ascot Award with, and we had some bottles to sell and to share. And it got people excited about what we're doing. That was really a big piece of it.
Do we want to just start with what we have poured up for round one?
Sure.
Or you want to introduce him, Mark?
Yeah. So the first taste you're going to try is what we call our Baroness. And the Baroness is it's an old German heritage varietal. It's malted by Link Malt out of Spokane. The farmer is in the Palouse area of Washington State. What makes it rare in heritage in this case is that they've had it since the 80s. It dates back early 1900s. It came over from Germany, and this particular farmer has had it for over 45 years, and they own the rights to it in the States. So I think his brother-in-law does. I think the variety in general is owned by a big multinational, and they don't sell it very much anymore because it doesn't produce the yield and sugars like new varieties do.
Yeah.
So what you're tasting is a heritage varietal. It doesn't have a, this is my description of it. It's super mellow, super smooth. It's got a lot of caramels. It reacts to the barrel like I've never seen any of our varieties do before. It just absorbs those sugars. When you add a drop of water to this, it completely opens it up. And it doesn't, none of our varieties other than this one does it like this. I mean, they all open up, but this one, for whatever reason, it just pops. And it's why it's one of my favorite varieties we've had. The aromas come out. It's like the caramels really intensify. But this was probably the easiest decision in terms of a starting point for us, from a starting point from our company. We did a lot of research on varietals and finding a heritage varietal that was regional, that had a great storyline, that tasted good. And the farmer was into it. Like he really loves his product and has had, so for last 30 years, he didn't care about varieties or volumes of product. He really just cared about having a quality barley, whether it was for a feed or for beer, or now for distilling.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm curious what your thought of the first taste.
I totally agree with you. I get a lot of that caramel on the nose and on the taste. It's a fantastic pour. I think you're also spot on with it's very well balanced.
Yeah. And the thing that I like about this as well, it also has a lingering long finish. And it's not abrasive. It's just really coats well and finishes really nice. So this is why when we started the company, we really looked for these types of uniqueness of variety. And I didn't know this at the time. I didn't really have the opportunity to taste varietals at any distillery ever. You know, when you're going around doing your research, I've been to Scotland and France and, the Cognac tours and the Bourbon Trail and the, Kentucky for some Canadian whiskey distilleries, went to Japan. I did some good research, and it was always about their mash bill and barrel finish. It was never about the one product that was what could make it taste great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you start talking to distillers, they used to talk about the old days of not caring about the price of barley or corn or wheat or rye. All they cared about, it tasted good and it made a good mash bill, and that was it. Now it's about sugar content. You never hear about it tastes great. It's kind of why we use a lot of corn in bourbon. I mean, it's just so cheap, and it's not what I wanted to do. I really wanted to find something unique like this Baroness. It's such an amazing product. And leading into the second pour, I guess. I don't know if you have any more questions about this variety, but
well, let's, I know we talked a little bit about, or before we started recording, about the history, but can you tell us a little bit about the history and origins of Bird Creek, how the brand came into existence?
So I'm talking to you from Trout Lake, Washington. We've had a place up here for almost 25 years. I just fell in love with this area. It's kind of this rare gem of a place. Nobody ever sees Mount Adams from a distance. If you're on Eastern Washington or Eastern Oregon, you kind of can see it, but from Portland and Seattle, it's all hidden by other mountains like St. Helens or a small range. But you don't know it. You don't know it's there until you get close. And we were looking for a place a while back, and somebody said, "Hey, have you heard of this place, Trout Lake?" And I said, "No, I haven't." So we went up here and we were just like blown away. It's like, it's kind of comical, but it's like the movie Joe Dirt. This is a terrible reference, but when he talks about Silvertown, that's what I thought about. It's like, we don't necessarily haven't seen before in that, but it's like that feeling of you see a little town. This is cool.
Yeah.
Super local. They got a great vibe here. It's a bunch of dairies and small craft businesses, really small. I mean, it's like 1,000 people here. But we just fell in love with this place. And over the years, we've been on just hikes and trails and snowmobile, and we just done it all up here. And our favorite hike turned out to be a place called Bird Creek. It's called Bird Creek Meadows. It's on Mount Adams. It's on our bottle top as the GPS compass or location for that hike. And it's rare. We had a big fire about 12 years ago, and so you can't go anytime you want. It's on the Yakima side of the reservation. Yakima reservation is on that side of the mountain. And they only open it up for about a month a year. So it makes it kind of extra special. And that whole feeling of that is when we started talking about distillery names. And I mean, like every distiller, you go down the rabbit hole of finding a name that's not taken, or one that the Scottish Distillery Association won't block you. I mean, your name could be Fitzpatrick or something with lock in it, and they will block. They will just spend money to mess with you. Anyway, so we went down this path of trying to find names, and as soon as we thought about it, we love this idea. This is the whole concept of what we're going to do, about finding these rare places or rare varieties and farmers that do something interesting. And it made a lot of sense. Just fell right in. And as soon as we started thinking about our branding and, our bottle design and, all of it just it just hit. The switch went on, and it was almost the easiest design I've ever done in 30 years of being in business myself.
Well, you landed on something good when it's just a natural fit like that.
Yeah. And, I love the outdoors, and I think, there's several brands that do that. And I honestly thought, I've always wanted to have a brand like I do for coffee, but for whiskey that really embodies the outdoors and sustainability and a focus on quality, period. Quality first, everything else second, but really it's those things in order. Our focus is to find something amazing. It's just push boundaries which I'm quite shocked that hasn't been done yet in whiskey. It's I feel like whiskey is where I was in coffee 30 years ago.
Interesting.
There's nobody's talking about the farmer.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, when you talk about coffee, he's talking about a grower in Guatemala who grows this amazing place in Huehuetenango. They grow a Bourbon varietal, right? I mean, that's what it's come to. It's like the wine. We've gone to where wine is for coffee. I think there's a real opportunity with single malts in particular, to go that direction and really do what our ambition is to celebrate the American barley grower and celebrate in a way that brings them some desperately needed PR, if you will.
Yeah.
We're not just buying a commodity, we're buying an amazing product, and we celebrate our victories with them. Basically, that's the whole concept of this.
And really, without the farmers, you don't have the product. I mean, that it all starts with them. It really does.
Yeah. And if you have a farmer that focuses on volume exclusively or yield, they're typically going to grow a commodity, right? But the farmers we're talking to and we're working with, they're not that at all. They're really interested in something unique. They have a special item that has a great lineage. You know, when you're talking about the Baroness in particular, he knows it. He loves his, he has Baroness days. He does at the end of his harvest party, he brings all of his vendors in and celebrates with them. He brings beer and we bring whiskey, and it's a great way to celebrate the farmer's work for the year. So that's kind of what the whole the feel of this is, right?
Yeah.
And that's it gets back to my coffee time in terms of how I got here. I started in coffee 30 years ago, roasting with retails, and then about 17 years ago, I looked at seriously growing coffee, and I didn't realize at the time I'd been in the business for quite a while. I thought I knew everything, and I literally knew nothing when it came to the industry in general.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment you're growing coffee in a foreign country, particularly Africa, it's a completely different world. You open yourself up to everything. But at the same time, our goal was to do what we're doing with this is we had a property. We wanted to grow something extremely special. It had all the right terroir and feel for what we wanted to do. We just didn't have the raw ingredients. And I've been doing this for already 15 years. So I've been around the world, been to farms everywhere. And I had contacts where I could get seed and ship them into Tanzania and start growing something. Like wine, it takes 5 years or so to really get to understand how the quality is going to go. So that's a really long process. So we went for it. We started out with a whole bunch of stuff. 17 years later, or 15 years later, we had planted some geisha varietals from Panama, some pacamaras from El Salvador, some varieties from Colombia, some from SL28s from Kenya, and some Ethiopian varietals. And 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, there's a thing called the Taste of Excellence, the Taste of Harvest, Cup of Excellence. And they do these global competitions. So each country has kind of like the top 10 coffee growers.
Okay.
So Colombia has 500,000 growers.
Wow.
So just to understand how big these can be.
Yeah.
Tanzania has several to tens of thousands of growers. But that year we took 11th in the world.
Oh, wow.
Good for you guys.
With a geisha pea berry varietal. We only could grow 2 bags of it. So it wasn't a lot. We set a world record for Tanzania sold that year, the highest price ever recorded in East Africa. Same. So it's like we blew the socks off, and what it has done since then is changed a region's coffee that they have the ability now to really grow something special. So just like Oregon Pinot, Napa Cab, you have these regions that do something really special because they've shared the information. Farmers have shared each other, and they become this solid group of farmers. That's what my goal is with barley, to be honest with you, is to find a barley that does that. The highest price ever paid for coffee is a geisha. I want to find the geisha of barley. I mean, and that's truly what our mission is for the next 15 years, is that we're going to add several varieties every year. And it's going to take, it'll take 2 years really to see how the barrel's treating the barleys. But our goal is to find what we found in this first one, which was our Baroness, is to see where this leads us, because all the barleys we had, they all taste different. And that's the exciting piece. That some are going to be okay. You know, I'm not going to, and they're not always going to be awesome. It may take longer. Hopefully that's not the case, but they all taste different. And to be honest, everybody that we bring through our tasting room or do a market, they all have a different taste buds. Everybody has their favorites, and it can go through 5 varietals, and I'd say 4 out of 5 will have something a little different. They'll like it because of a different piece of.
Yeah.
And that's it's super exciting about finding a niche in a market that's as old as whiskey. You know, that's the fun part.
Well, you can really tell, you know, both in your experience with coffee and whiskey, you're really oriented towards quality. And I really think it shines through in your product here. And then, you know, your bottles are beautiful, very elegant shape, you know, clean design, but you have those, like you said, the cool toppers with the compass and the GPS. And then that's Mount Adams, right? At the bottom of the bottle.
Exactly. So yeah, Bird Creek is on Mount Adams. And the compass idea, I wish it was my idea. It wasn't mine. You know, we use a great firm. I was lucky enough to have some money to spend on design and branding. It's part of the reason we don't distill. So, you know, we feel that my strengths is not that at this time, but like, it's really finding resources, great storylines, great tasting products, and then letting the pros do what they do best and letting us kind of guide them a little bit down the way.
Awesome.
So, okay, we've got about 12 minutes before we have to switch over to the new Zoom call. So we've got a couple more questions here. I do just want to point out, for those people, those rare few who do celebrate Dry January, our producer is one of them. So he is not tasting along with us. He did just grab the bottle and smell it. And it was a good face he made. So
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he'll have to wait another week or so before he can taste it. But it was a good reaction.
Yep. We'll save a little bit for him.
I was doing a tasting with a group at a athletic club. It's like a high-end athletic club with 5 bars, whatever. And the bartender was the same. He was on Dry January, and he had us pour all 5 of our options and just smelled them. And he says, "Yeah, it's like, God, I just can't wait till."
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's he's at. And honestly, I want to join an athletic club with 5 bars. Where is that at?
You guys got the Soho Club, you know that? You ever heard of Soho? I'm not familiar with it, Bob. So there's nationwide. There's one in Portland that's opening. This was called the Multnomah Athletic Club, and they've been around like 100 years. They got restaurants in there, and you know it's like connected to the soccer stadium here.
Oh,
so
very cool.
Yeah, it's a huge membership deal. But anyway, they have got a couple of huge whiskey club, so they invited us in to showcase our stuff. It was kind of nice.
So I know you talked about your history in coffee. How did you make the jump from coffee to bourbon or whiskey?
Yeah. So, while we were doing our research, we kind of narrowed it down to, we wanted to do single malt. So once we really flushed out all of our ideas, we started with kind of talking to a few local distilleries and to get some guidance, like who would we go to? Cause just like in coffee, there's different cooperatives you can buy your coffee from to bring it imported in. So I realized there's going to be something like that. And you know, but obviously, Malting House is exactly that. It's just a different name. And they were the first kind of go-to for us to figure out where we were going to go to and who we were going to talk to. Finding out what's rare, you know, why a barley can be very expensive and why it's can be reasonable. So that was really our first kind of, you know, go to is first to just get some information about who we wanted to see. The second was easy. I mean, I have a friend that's been distilling for the last 25 years. And he said, I'll help you do the first runs. We'll be your test kitchen, if you will. We'll do your first, like a barrel of each of the things you want to do, and let's just go from there. And then he had helped us find the next distiller and so on. So, just like the industry I'm in with coffee, I found that, the Oregon Distillery Guild is really friendly. They have a lot of great events. They are always available to help if you ask the right questions. So that's really cool. That's really helpful for our state to have that group has been extremely useful for me. That's for sure.
Nice. So what about American Single Malt made you land on just sticking to the American Single Malt?
I think it's more of a when I just, when I was in Scotland and in Japan, it was so odd how knowing what we know and what we grow in the States, how vast we have, how much variety of products we have here. I was just amazed that we never really had a single malt that was highly coveted. Like, I mean, you just don't ever hear. It's all bourbon, right? It's bourbon's king, and I just thought, this is crazy. We grow some of the most amazing products here. We've got such a lineage of great farmers, and I guarantee you our university systems know exactly where to get these products from. They all know it. So when I was in Scotland, I thought, wouldn't it be great to create a great American single malt that, whether it's my lifetime or somebody else's, it's, future, is that they look at this brand and say, yeah, this is why it's great, because they didn't compromise in quality. They really went for something interesting. And they were always out for discovery. They didn't settle on a mash bill from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
They went and tried to find nuances in barrels and made it kind of the way they want to drink it, which is they try and find something interesting and unique. And through that discovery of some of the distillers in Scotland and talking to some of the old timers, they used to have that, now it's, multinationals that really count money, and they say, hey, we got 4 main varieties in the country and you're going to use one of them. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of that you don't really have options sometimes. There's a lot of great distillers that are still trying to push the envelope with varieties and volumes, but they're already so big that, you can't afford to really, you're going to bust the bank out of a big distillery if you're going to go from an average barley to what we're using. They're 10 times the cost in some cases. So
yeah. Are you aware at all of any other distillery using Baroness or Full Pint?
Yeah, of course. I think Copperworks is doing, I think Westland and Seattle's using them. Westward and Portland as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the first by far. And that's one of the reasons I knew it, because the malting house was saying, we're selling at a few of them. And yeah, it's just, I don't know if they're using new oak or I know Westward uses a combination. I don't know if Westland, I haven't been through their distilleries, to be honest with you. We wanted to use new oak. We just wanted the opportunity to flavor it faster.
Yeah, get a lot of those wood sugars coming out.
Yep. It's why we use new oak for 90% of what we're doing. The 10% is because I ran out of new oak.
Yeah.
So, but the reality is that what we found is that in the last 6 years of making products, that we have a used barrel that's over 6 years old, and it's taken that long to get it to where it needs to be. And that makes sense, but we have a 3-year that's just phenomenal in new oak, and they were great at 2.5 years. And people were like, oh, you should just do it now. And I'm like, no, it's not ready. It's not ready. And it's like, oh no, we got it. And it's just, it's amazing how much, like, I brought a bottle of Scotland with me, a 4-year. I bought several. And before I did some tours, I asked if it was all right if we could share a bottle, or at least open it up and give it to them afterwards and say, this is what I'm producing. It's new oak, rare varieties. And kid you not, I had people like asking questions that, like, this is not 4 years. This is way older. Mm. How much coloring are you adding to your whiskey? And like, it's just 4 years. It's new oak. It's literally, it's one varietal, still only hearts, so it's just, and then there's just like, they were blown away because they couldn't believe it. And they've been doing something for so long. And it was interesting to see the reaction. And I think that's when I knew that summer we had just bottled the first set and it came back that we're going to launch in November. This is going to be big.
Yeah. And that's what we're drinking now is Baroness, 4 years, 3 months old. And it does not taste that young. I've had things age much older that have a lot more of that, I don't know, that bite to it that you get from those young whiskeys. And I would not know this was 4 years wearing on the bottle. This is fantastic.
And I think, honestly, it's a combination of the barrels we use are the highest grade barrels we can get. We don't buy like perfect barrels. We're buying, they have knots and stuff, but it's, it's a 3-year stave. It's, they're dried well. We char number 2, always uniquely charred everything's charred exactly the same. So when we're tasting products that are around 4 years, you're trying something that the only difference is the barley. Yeah. And that's been, it's like doing a science experiment where you have the constant one thing is the barrel. And that's obviously barrel to barrel, they can be different, but, it is what it is. So
looks like our second. Yeah. Okay. It popped up on your end too. All right. Yeah. We'll send you the next link and, we'll basically start.
We won't run out of time anymore. I just pay for them up.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah. We yeah. It looks like our producer just paid for unlimited time, so we don't have to.
Oh, we're good.
Reset that. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's going to kick us out now.
No, it's not. It just said it wasn't.
Nice. There we go. Okay. Very cool. $15. That's all. All right. Okay. You guys want some more water or something?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll take another water.
I poured very heavy on that first one, so I'm still finishing off that. That is really good though. And
I'd say the other note that I'm picking up on is there's like a grassy or graininess to it. Definitely got that caramel, but it's nice to. It seems like that's kind of the Baroness itself showing through, and then maybe the caramel is that barrel influence.
Yeah, from what we've started to say, I'm terrible with describing my flavor palette with whiskey. I'll get better. I'm better at coffee, that's for sure. But what I always hear people, and we do thousands of these at events like all summer long, and it's always the same. It's like one is really smooth, it's caramely sweet, it has such a long finish, anyway, I think that's kind of the point. I like to hear people's opinions because I don't think anybody's ever wrong. I think best advice I've always was given, whether it's coffee or whiskey or anything, is your opinions matter. It's what, if you feel like you're tasting something funky or whatever, you're tasting something funky. Yep. If it's sweet, caramely, whatever, that's the way I love to hear people. And then, and if they like it with water, they like it with ice, drown it with whatever. I don't care as long as they like it at the end.
Yeah. See this Coca-Cola, and then we're here.
Because that's where, I get some, the wife of a heavy bourbon drinker, and she goes, I'm not a big whiskey drinker. And I said, just try this, a little bit of water, dilute it until you like it. And it's usually the key is that I can drink this. It's usually a couple of drops in it. It's not harsh. It's just, it doesn't burn. It's like they usually get that with maybe the whiskey their husband's been buying. But we're finding that it's like the nuances for a lot of the people that like to put ice in Baroness, it just pops. And it's just for whatever reason that this particular barley, unlike the other ones we have, are affected a little bit more with a drop of water or two.
Yeah.
And I will say, so that's, we do the whiskey society. So we do tons of tastings, and my big thing is everyone tastes things differently. It's all about your world experiences, your experiences of tasting different things. And for me, I've had a deviated septum a majority of my life. So I say I'm hard of tasting and smelling because they're all related. And to me, when I first smelled this one, I actually got a little bit of cocoa. Yeah, it's different for everybody. I don't know why. That's the first thing I got. Because I'm weird. And that's the joy of whiskey, is it's
Exactly.
a little different to everyone depending on what their experiences are.
Exactly right.
Cool.
Are you ready to dive into the second one?
Yeah. All right. We're just going to bottoms up here.
Yep.
We talk a lot about innovation out here in the West, and nobody embodies that quite like Charbet Distillery. Based in Northern California, the Karakashevich family brings 13 generations of distilling heritage to every single bottle. They are true pioneers, distilling beer into world-class whiskey and crafting brandies that set the standard. If you want to taste history that pushes the boundaries of flavor, you need Charbet on your shelf. Visit charbet.com to explore their legendary lineup. That's CHARBAY.com. Taste the legacy.
Okay, so the next one we're pouring up here is the full pint barley varietal, and this is aged 3 years, 11 months, and it's 115 proof. Baroness was also cast strength at 115 proof.
So let's start with the variety.
Yeah.
So our whole goal is rare or heritage, something ancient, if you will. This is a brand new varietal, not too old. Oregon State developed this. So when I mentioned earlier that we're lucky enough to be in the Northwest, where we have two great ag schools, that state schools, Washington State and Oregon State. Oregon State has a world-class barley breeding program. They are an immense wealth for the single malt industry. And if you're a single malt producer, Oregon State's a program. They are helping people develop barleys that not only have flavor, but they're disease resistant. There's a lot of rust issues in barley that, basically can wipe out your crop if you don't have a particular variety that's rust resistant. So what they've done is, in this particular variety is, they've taken a El Salvador varietal and the Chechia varietal and married them together to produce flavors that are really interesting in my opinion. There's so much going on in this particular varietal. It has spice notes. It's front forward. It doesn't have that back of the throat, like lingering, like smooth finish. This has got so much going on the tip of your tongue. It has spice notes, but it's a little sweet too. It's just and basically what they decided to do when they designed this particular varietal was they needed something to hold up in the Northwest. They wanted it to be good for farmers, yield and all that stuff, but really they were working on flavor profiles for the beer industry. They wanted to make a great beer with it. So they started with a really, really flavorful varietal called Galena. And married it with, I just forgot, Siri, the other varietal from Chechia that had the properties that made it rust resistant. So when you have a university like that that's so focused on creating something interesting or flavorful, it's new. So what makes it rare is there's really a couple farmers. I really only know of the one that we buy from. I've been told there's others that do grow it. In this particular case, he was a student at Oregon State. When he left school, he took basically convinced them to let him grow it at home. And they do it at a commercial grade now. It's called Mecca grade states. They also malt their own barleys on the farm. So they have a malting operation. And they do like 15 different levels of malting variety or malting styles. But we picked a particular malt style called it's called Metolius, and it's just a nice medium toasted. We felt like it had the best opportunity for flavor for what we were looking for.
Yeah, this to me is a little more, classic American single malt. I get kind of some green apple with like little in mid palate, like a candy note. And then on the finish, I get kind of a cracker type finish. And maybe that's that medium toast on the barley. But yeah, and then also I get, of course, the malt. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but the note in a, say, chocolate malt kind of milkshake type deal that comes through to me. And so it's very much like the malt is shining in this one for sure.
Yeah, and this was distilled down in Napa, double distillation. So they use basically a Forsyth still combination of a double distillation run through another. And our whole process with all of the people we use to distill our products is that we want to make sure they conserve the flavor of the barley. So we don't use any of the heads and tails like you can for some bourbons that maybe you want to age out. They'll add some flavor notes down there. We're not interested in that at all. We want to taste the flavor of the barley. And I think that's where when you said you tasted the malt and the barley, it's like you can taste these notes. It's radically different than the first one.
It is.
From Baron.
It is.
Yeah.
And honestly, I said I was going to pour a lighter pour of this one, and then I refilled my glass. It's delicious. That malt really kicks with this one. I almost want to say it's rye like with that little bit of spice, but the malt just coming. I came from beer. This is fantastic.
Yeah. So you're not off because most people that try it that are rye drinkers say this is my favorite of these selections because it has that spiciness.
Yeah,
it's true. It's and it's like this is what makes it so fun finding two radically different barleys right off the start. We didn't know it was going to be this way. We just said, okay, we got a couple of options here. Let's start with these two. Almost immediately, like off the still with the full pint, it was just unbelievably spicy and flavorful. And I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. It was so spicy. It mellowed, I'm not kidding you, about 500% where it was today. The barrel really mellowed it out. And it's mellowed it out in a good way. It added some nice, a little bit of sweetness from the, caramely, a little bit of that. But the other way, when we were distilling the Baroness, it was almost dead. We were like, it was so mellow comparatively because we were always trying it with what we were trying next to it. And you couldn't taste these new make together and think a Baroness was going to be a dud. Be honest with you, this is why I say that some of these barleys that we have are so sensitive to barrel flavors. And it's a good thing because it's going to bring out some things. But we found that with the Baroness being so sensitive to it. But this one is just the opposite. It was just so intense from the beginning and it needed to mellow out because everybody's like, well, this is so hot. So it tastes, it tasted like almost a hot bourbon to a degree, or a rye. But anyway, this is what makes it really fun is that we found a couple things right off the bat.
So where are you guys maturing your products at? Are you maturing them with your contract distillers or are you shipping it back up to you guys?
Most of our products are in Portland. We have a warehouse here. We do our bottling here. We do all of our blending stuff here. But we aged some in Napa with the distiller for a few years. We're aging some in Washington State right now as well. So there's going to have some they'll be different. But each area we're bottling. One is a semi-controlled warehouse where it gets cold at night and it doesn't get below a certain temperature. It's not going to be like a rick house in Kentucky. It's going to be 50s to 80s. So it's fairly controlled.
Are you guys usually gaining proof? And
yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're putting in around anywhere from 112 to 115.
Nice.
Even lower. We did 108 for just because we couldn't get the alcohol content for our Purple Egyptian. We're putting it at 115 and usually sell about 120 coming out after 4 years.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I really like that Baroness and this is even better to me. So,
Well, and Dave leans more towards the rye spice. I kind of lean more towards that bourbon candy note. So I think I landed with the Baroness. So we're tracking, Dave.
that works. That works. So you have all this experience with coffee, and you've tried so many different distilleries around the world. Do you have any training in distilling, or what is that like for you?
No, just the opposite. I didn't have any. My background is in, blending, basically with coffee. So I basically have 30 years of experience in tasting different varietals and then bringing them in and roasting and blending something for espresso or drip coffee. So that's my background. And that's where I see, that's kind of why I went down this direction, is that we don't have a flagship yet. I'm thinking it's going to be a small batch, or it's going to be multiple small batch. But we will at some point, with enough varietals, we'll figure out a way to make, and I always think this is my thought process, is that even with coffee's not there yet, but coffee for a farmer, just like you have the French in Bordeaux, the world's, Chateau Lafite is a blend of 3 varietals, right? So it's a Cabernet, Cab Franc, and I think it's Merlot. And I think it's 65-25 or something like that. They all do it kind of the same. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. They sell for $1,000 a bottle. And they've perfected the art of blending with the variety for their terroir. Coffee is coming that way because people like us that have a farm that have multiple varietals can produce a coffee in a bag that you don't need to, you can just roast it and be ready to go. Well, mash bills kind of do that for people in their own right? But what I feel is that what I want to take this is that we're aging everything independent. We don't age, unless it's not a mistake. We had leftover. We threw a couple things in a barrel and aged it out. But all of our varieties are aged independently. And then when we choose to do a small batch blend of a couple varietals, it's because we want to find out where they really could be great, if they should be together. Some barrels are just going to be phenomenal on their own. That's why we call them our single barrel or single cask varietals. But we're going to have a lot of whiskey coming, and we're going to most likely blend a lot of barrels, a lot of varietals. And my goal is to find that, like Chateau Lafite is having the one varietal that does one thing, like body, like the Baroness, but having the spicy note, which is, you're going to try this in the next one or small batch. They actually marry quite well. It's not perfect by any means. It's the opposite. It's our first, go at it. So, but it's where we feel like when we start having, we have 7 varietals now, just ridiculous. Some storylines are amazing. But they all taste totally different. Yeah. And that's where the fun part is when I did what I did with coffee, and what I see with other distilleries, they really value their taste profiles and can explore putting something together that just makes it so much better when it is together. I love the idea of having a great single malt, how many S's can you get? Single malt, single varietal, single estate, single barrel, but the real art, in my opinion, is going to be marrying finished products of maybe different ages or, what have you, but in a percentages that pull flavors of exactly what you want to pull, and trying to go for something that you're trying to go for. Like, if you wanted to create a better or a little bit more spicy profile, well, we'll do quite a bit more of the full pint versus the Baroness, or we have some crazy varietals. This purple Egyptian is so radically different. It's an ancient, it's a hull-less ancient varietal. It dates back 5,000 BC. It's coming. It's going to be coming out this year. We're going to launch it at about 3 year, I think. It tastes like, Red Hots. It's like the child candy. It's just so bizarre. It's super malty, but everybody that tries it, they're just like, that's so different. And I think that Scots Bear we have the the original barley from Pilsner Urquell, the Franzen, some farmer grows at Eastern Oregon, and some other ones go Oregon Promise, another one that's Oregon State Development. But that's the fun thing I see down the road is where we're headed with our small batch or multiple types of small batch. So we're going to be trying to create flavor profiles for specific people that like different things like that. So, you know what I mean? Like having an ancient varietal blend, that we have 2 varieties that date back, 2 BC to 5 BC, 5,000.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part I think that we'll see. So.
Yeah, well, I like how you have it structured where you have these varietals and, it's really the pedestal for each of these barley varieties with really cool, unique stories to shine through. And then your small batch is kind of like your sciencey playground where you get to do, the masterful art of blending. That's really cool. Do you think Bird Creek will ever get into any barrel finish? I think I know the answer on this, but do you think you'll ever get into any barrel finishes? Because, like with Scotch, obviously sherry finishes or using sherry butts are very popular.
Yeah, it's inevitable. The reason I say that is not every barrel works out.
Right.
The reality is that there are trees that just don't have the flavor and are finishing. We have a few that at 2 years we had to move into a new oak, different oak, just because it wasn't working, So, and those may have to be finished in something different. And I want to be. I want to be very PC about what I'm about to say because it's a purpose. There's a purpose for people to finish in barrels, right? So they want a sweeter flavor profile. What you're trying is a product that didn't need any of that. Right. It's just wonderful. It had a great barrel. The variety's really good to begin with. And the reason you have to do barrel finishes is because you didn't do the first 2 things right, which is find a great varietal and buy great wood. It's expensive. I mean, you can spend twice as much money on wood for a proper barrel. And it, we're not cheap. I mean, our bottle prices are about $100 a bottle. So, and we're charging basically our costs. It's like we have very high costs for what we're doing to make this stuff. But my point is that everybody goes down that road. And I think there'll be a reason to do it, to sell it. It would be a great example. Yeah. I've had people approach me saying, what if I bought a sherry cask for you and you jumped 2 barrels of X in there and you finished for 6 months? I'm like, if you're going to buy it out, I'll do what you want. I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality of being in business and you want to please your customers, and better or worse, there's purpose for it. And I think there's some great whiskeys that do it really phenomenal. But at the end of the day, I think that we're going to try to not do it if we don't have to, but I'm pretty sure we will. It's inevitable. I know it is.
Yeah. I mean, and from the business aspect, like you said, if it's a way to save something that didn't turn out with your seal of approval, if it's not this good, we're drinking the full pint, right? Yeah, full pint. If it's not this good, throw in a sherry cask and I'll buy it personally. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the point. So it's like we're going to hit that in probably, in the next year. I already know we have 2 barrels we got to figure out what to do with out of 32. So it's like, we're already addressing it. It's like, it's the things you learn quickly is that you listen to people that have done it a lot before and you value their opinions and there are ways to move the product in the right direction, aerating and technically turn, that kind of stuff. But you at the end of the day, if you got to put in a new barrel, you just move it, there's no time to waste.
Yeah.
You're already in it for several years anyway. So,
Well, shoot, 30 out of 32 is pretty good.
Yeah.
yeah.
About how many barrels go into each of your batches?
So if it's single barrel, obviously there's the one, but we have not done more than 2 barrels for a small batch as of date.
Great.
Yeah. So we keep it really focused. And the reason that is because we're still, just starting out where, we started making in 2017, we literally launched a year ago in November. So, we're started out doing farmers markets, and we're in liquor stores in Oregon. We have California distribution, but we're not selling anybody yet in California. We sell through a direct to consumer site. But we're coming, we want to get to California and try to find some places that like what we sell. Anyway, I just forgot your questions.
Oh, I think you answered it. I think it was how many barrels you were using in each batch. And
oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, and I think our setup right now is the maximum of 8 barrels in one final finishing tank. That's our largest tank. So,
and do you guys do any chill filtering, or is there anything else about your process that might make your product stand out?
Yeah, we don't do that. We started doing that. We don't do it anymore. So we all of our lowest proof will be 46 or 92. And then, so we decided not to do it after the first run. We did a couple of them, and didn't like it the way it finished comparatively. So, we feel like some of these varieties taste better at cast strength, like so much better, but it's kind of shocking. We actually do, I'd say, I didn't think we'd sell as much cast strength as we do, but, it's kind of an interesting, when you're doing a tasting at an event and you're going through what you guys are doing, but you're doing the spectrum of start out at 392 proofs and then 2 cast strengths. People at the end are like, I'm not sure about cast strength. Just try it. Try it. Add a little water if you need it. Just try it. And almost always they're just like, oh my God, it's just so much more flavor. And obviously if it's too hot, they'll need to add some water to down a little bit. But it's kind of like, to be honest, this is a great analogy. It's like when you first like coffee. So the first really, really good variety of coffee you tried, or like you had an amazing cup of coffee, because normally coffee can suck. I mean, it can be terrible. It's burnt, it's old, it's stale. But if you find a local roaster that's done it right, and it's freshly roasted, smells amazing, there's such a great experience with that. That's what I see when somebody has never tried a cast strength of anything, but then they try a cast strength Baroness or full pint. Usually the Baroness, because it's not so overly spicy. It's just like, whoa, I could taste it all now. Like I tried it in the 92 and that was nice, but this is really, and then it look at you like, wow, that's just, I never thought that before. I mean, that's where you feel like the exciting part about you have a product that, that it gives people that kind of expression. Like you just, you have something there, that's the fun part about it.
And I know for me, my personal tastes, I'm a sucker for anything in a sherry cask, but I also like the rye and the spice. What about you? Like, what's your preferred flavor profile?
Well, when I first started this, we had an idea that we wanted to mimic Oban. I always loved their products. It wasn't, it's like there was a hint of smoke, but not too overpowering, and I kind of went down that road of like, there was reasons I liked it and I love their products. And I like Space Side whiskeys, to be honest with you. Don't dislike the smoky Islas, but something to drink regularly. It's that single malt that's been it's consistent, right?
Yeah.
But when we were going down the path, I don't think it's like Like that's what I personally like. So, and I love Japanese whiskey. I think it's amazing. I think Yamazaki does a great job. I was lucky enough to be part of the Yamazaki 55 deal in Portland here.
Cool.
So I didn't get to try that one, but I tried the other ones. I didn't want to spend $7,000 for a drink.
Oh boy, y'all playing me. I'll bring.
Yeah.
But I'm on the board of directors for the Portland Japanese Garden, and we have a great partnership with Centauri, and they did an amazing thing with the Oklahoma Whiskey Library. Had an event, sold out pretty quickly. But I mean, I love these places that have a really good history of trying to make a great product, and I think a lot of Centauri brands do that. Anyway, but yeah, and I think that in general, if I'm gonna have a whiskey, it's gonna be something like either a nice Japanese whiskey or a single malt from Scotland.
Cool. Well, guys, yeah, definitely appreciate your time, Mark, and you're a great guest, and you laid it down. I appreciate it.
We definitely appreciate it. It's great meeting you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Distilling the West. Our mission is to explore exceptionally made craft spirits from the Western U.S. and imbibe with good company. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Distilling the West and reach us by email at distillingwest@gmail.com and on your favorite podcast platform. If you want to help the podcast out, please give us a positive rating and review. We hope you'll join us on the next episode. Until then, we hope you explore Western horizons and enjoy craft spirits. There's a lot of hoping in there.
Thank you for joining us on Distilling the West. We look forward to having you along for the journey of exploring distilleries of the Western United States and the craft spirits that they produce. Until next time.